The marble halls of the Empire's Central Command gleamed under the light of three suns. Admiral James Walker stood at the massive window, his weathered hands clasped behind his back, as he watched the countless ships move through the carefully controlled traffic lanes. Everything was orderly. Everything was peaceful. Everything was wrong. He checked his datapad again, reading the message that had arrived just hours ago. After 2 centuries of Earth being part of the Galactic Empire, someone had finally found proof of what he had long suspected. The Empire's peace wasn't natural. It was engineered. The Empire had ruled for 4,000 years, maintaining what they called the Great Peace. They took pride in their achievement. No wars, no conflicts, no major disagreements between any of the 1,000-member species. When humanity joined the Empire 200 years ago, they too had been impressed by this feat. But humans, being naturally curious, had always asked questions. How had the Empire maintained peace for so long? How had they convinced so many different species to live in perfect harmony? The Empire's answers were always vague, speaking of cultural advancement and evolutionary enlightenment. Walker remembered Earth's history, full of conflicts, wars, and struggles, but also marked by incredible achievements that came from overcoming these challenges. The Empire had called Earth's history primitive and barbaric. Now Walker understood why. His datapad blinked with another message from Dr. Miller's research team. They had been investigating the Empire's peace maintenance centers, supposedly educational facilities where troubled individuals were helped to find harmony. The truth was far darker. The message contained chemical formulas and genetic sequences. The Empire had been secretly releasing behavior-altering compounds into the atmospheres of every member world. These compounds didn't just calm people down. They suppressed creativity, ambition, and the drive to question authority. Walker walked to his office's security scanner and activated it, making sure no Empire surveillance devices were present. The Empire claimed they didn't spy on their members, but he had found 3 listening devices in his office last week alone. Once he was sure the room was clean, he opened his secure communication channel to Earth's Central Command. The holographic image of General Thompson appeared, his face grim. "Did you see the reports?" Thompson asked. "Yes," Walker replied. Dr. Miller's team confirmed everything. The Empire isn't maintaining peace. They're enforcing compliance through chemical and genetic manipulation. They'd been doing it since the beginning. "It gets worse," Thompson said. "We found records of their first attempts at control. Species that resisted simply disappeared. Entire civilizations gone without a trace. The Empire erased them from every record." Walker felt a chill run down his spine. How many? At least 30 species in the first 1,000 years. After that, their control methods became more effective. No more resistance, no more need for erasure. The Admiral looked out at the peaceful traffic again. Now he could see it clearly. The ships all moving in perfect lines, never deviating, never changing course. Like insects in a hive, all following chemical signals without thought. What about the other species now? Walker asked. "Have you found any others who've discovered this?" Thompson shook his head. "Most species have been under control for thousands of years. Their people can't even conceive of resistance anymore. We're different because we're new to the Empire. Some of us are still able to think freely." Walker made his decision. "Send everything to Earth's Council. All the proof, all the data. It's time humanity showed the galaxy that true peace doesn't come from control. It comes from freedom." As he ended the transmission, Walker looked at his reflection in the window. Humanity had always been considered primitive by the Empire because they still had conflicts, still fought, still argued. Now he understood. Those weren't weaknesses. They were proof that humans were still truly alive. The Empire's perfect peace was about to be shattered, and humanity would be the ones to throw the first stone. Dr. Anna Miller worked in her underground lab on Earth, far from the Empire's watching eyes. Her hands shook as she looked at the test results again. The evidence was worse than anyone had imagined. Record log, Day 89. She spoke to her computer. I've confirmed that the Empire's genetic program isn't just controlling current populations. It's changing the DNA of unborn children. Each new generation becomes more passive, less likely to question authority. She turned to the large screen showing DNA patterns from different species. The changes were clear, like a painter slowly washing away bright colors until only gray remained. Next to these samples were vials of blood from human colonists who had lived on Empire worlds for generations. Their blood was different. Their genes were changing. The door opened, and Commander Thomas Reed walked in. His uniform was dusty from his trip through the old mining tunnels they used to hide their research. "Dr. Miller," he said, placing a new data crystal on her desk. "You need to see this. Our agents found it in an Empire archive." Miller inserted the crystal into her computer. Her eyes widened as she read. "These are prisoner records." "Yes," Reed said, "but look at the numbers. Billions of prisoners spread across hundreds of worlds. The Empire calls them Harmony Rehabilitation Centers." Miller studied the data. "These can't all be criminals. There are too many." "They're not criminals," Reed explained. "They're the ones the Empire's chemicals don't work on properly. People who keep asking questions, who keep thinking freely. The Empire locks them away and tells everyone they're being helped." An alert flashed on Miller's screen. Another message from Admiral Walker at the Empire's Central Command. She opened it, reading quickly. "The Empire is planning something big," she said. "They're worried about Earth. Our people are taking too long to adapt to their peace programs." Reed leaned closer to Reed. "They're planning to increase the chemical doses in Earth's atmosphere by 300%. That would affect billions of people," Miller said. "Children would be born already completely under their control. We'd lose everything that makes us human within one generation." She walked to a sealed container and opened it. Inside were samples of the Empire's control chemicals. Her team had been studying them for months, learning how they worked, and more importantly, how to fight them. "We've developed a treatment," she said, showing Reed a blue liquid in a small vial. "It can protect people from the Empire's chemicals, but we can only make small amounts, and it has to be injected directly into the bloodstream." Reed picked up the vial, looking at it carefully. "How many doses can we make?" "Enough for our key military and government personnel. Maybe a few million civilians, but not enough for everyone." The commander set the vial down carefully. "Then we need to act before the Empire implements their plan. We need to." He stopped as another alert flashed on the screen. This one was marked urgent, from Earth's Defense Command. The message was short. "Empire ships detected. Large fleet. Chemical deployment vessels identified. Estimated arrival, 72 hours. Miller looked at Reed, her face pale but determined. "They're not waiting anymore. They're coming to force us into their perfect peace." Reed straightened his uniform. "Then we don't wait either. I'll tell Admiral Walker to begin Phase 2. We'll need your data, all of it. Every proof of what they've done, every record of their prisoners, every test showing what they're doing to children. The people need to know why we're about to shatter 4,000 years of peace." As Reed hurried out, Miller looked at her screen one last time. The DNA patterns seemed to stare back at her, a record of the Empire's great crime against all thinking beings. They had created peace by slowly killing everything that made people unique, creative, and free. "Computer, send all files to Earth Command," she said. "Authorization Miller 79. Note to Admiral Walker. We're ready. The Empire's peace dies today." The underground military base buzzed with quiet activity. Commander Thomas Reed stood in the massive hidden hangar, watching as workers painted Empire peace symbols over the gun ports of Earth's new warships. The Empire's inspectors would see exactly what they expected: more peaceful patrol vessels. They wouldn't notice the advanced weapons hidden beneath the harmless-looking exterior. "Status report," Reed called to his chief engineer. "Shield generators are hidden inside what looks like standard communication arrays. the engineer replied. Empire sensors will just see normal traffic control equipment, but these shields can stop anything they throw at us. Reed smiled. For 3 years, they had built their forces in secret. Every weapon was disguised as something peaceful. Every military advance was hidden under layers of innocent-looking technology. The Empire had forgotten what war looked like. They wouldn't recognize its tools even when looking straight at them. His communicator beeped. "Commander, we have a situation in Sector 7, a voice said quietly. Empire inspection team arriving early. Reed moved quickly through the base's corridors. In Sector 7, a group of engineers was installing the new targeting systems. They couldn't let the Empire see those. He entered the sector just as the Empire inspectors were approaching. 2 tall figures in white robes walked slowly, their faces showing the peaceful blank expression of those fully under Empire control. "Welcome, honored inspectors," Reed said, bowing slightly. "We're just installing new traffic safety systems." The inspectors looked at the equipment with dull eyes. "These devices are larger than standard models," one said. Reed nodded. "Yes, honored one. Earth's ships are often less graceful than Empire vessels. We need stronger guidance systems to keep them in proper lanes." The inspector wrote something in his notepad. Reed kept his face calm, but his heart was racing. If they looked too closely. "Commander." Dr. Miller's voice came through his earpiece. "The Empire fleet is changing course. They're going to arrive in 48 hours, not 72. Reed kept his smile fixed. The inspectors couldn't know anything was wrong, but they had to get them out of there now. "Honored inspectors," he said smoothly, "we have prepared a demonstration of our new peace education programs. Would you like to see how we're helping our youth better understand Empire harmony?" The inspectors' faces brightened slightly at the mention of peace education. "Yes, show us." As Reed led them away from the weapon installations, he sent a silent alert to all stations. Time was running out. In orbit above Earth, Admiral Walker received Reed's message. He stood on the bridge of his peacekeeping vessel, looking at the real-time map of Empire ship movements. "They know something's wrong," he said to his officers. "They're rushing their plans." A lieutenant looked up from his station. "Sir, we're getting signals from other species. The ones we contacted secretly. The Blue Star people want to help. So do the mountain dwellers of Rigel." Walker nodded. Other species were starting to wake up. Dr. Miller's treatment had been shared in secret with a few trusted allies. Once freed from the Empire's chemicals, they remembered who they used to be. "Tell them to wait," Walker ordered. "Earth will strike first. When we do, they'll know it's time." His ship's disguised weapons were ready. The fleet's real strength was hidden under layers of peaceful deception. Humanity had learned to bare its teeth while appearing to smile. Back in the underground base, Reed finished with the inspectors. As they left, satisfied that Earth remained peaceful and obedient, he sent the final alert to all stations. 48 hours to freedom. Prepare for war. The Empire had spent 4,000 years forgetting how to fight. Humanity had spent 3 years learning how to hide an army in plain sight. Soon, the Empire would remember what real conflict looked like. The silent rebellion was about to become very, very loud. The Earth Council chamber was silent. 50 world leaders sat around the massive oak table, staring at the holographic display in the center. Dr. Miller's voice was steady as she showed them the final proof. "This is a scan of a human child born on an Empire world," she said, pointing to a brain scan floating in the air. "And this is a scan of a child born on Earth." The images shifted side by side. The difference was clear. Whole sections of the Empire-born child's brain were dark, inactive. "The Empire's new chemical attack will do this to every human child," Miller continued. "Within 1 generation, we won't be human anymore. We'll be like all the others, empty shells living in their perfect peace." Admiral Walker stepped forward. "The Empire fleet is 36 hours from Earth. Their ships carry enough of their new control chemicals to blanket every continent." The council president, An elderly man with sharp eyes looked around the room. "We've hidden our preparations for 3 years. Are we ready?" Walker nodded. "Our fleet is armed. Our soldiers are protected by Dr. Miller's treatment. The Empire won't expect resistance. They haven't seen real warfare in 4,000 years. If we do this," another council member said, "we end 4,000 years of peace. We'll be remembered as the species that brought war back to the galaxy." "Peace." Commander Reed's voice cut through the chamber as he entered. "Look at this." He threw a data crystal into the hologram projector. New images filled the air. Massive prison planets filled with billions of thinking beings. People who had resisted the Empire's control. Species who had tried to stay free. "This isn't peace," Reed said. "This is slavery. And now they're coming to make us all slaves." The council president stood. "We must vote. The choice before us is clear. Submit to the Empire's control or fight. Remember, if we fight alone. No other species can help us yet." One by one, the council members voted. The chamber's air felt heavy with the weight of their decision. When the last vote was cast, the result was clear. "The vote is unanimous," the president announced. "Earth chooses war." Walker immediately activated his comm link to the fleet. "Battle stations. This is not a drill." Across Earth, hidden weapons powered up. Disguised warships began moving into position. 3 years of secret preparation were about to be revealed. In orbit, the Empire's ambassador received an urgent message from Earth. His peaceful, empty face showed a flicker of confusion as he read it. "This must be a mistake," he said to his staff. "They can't be serious." The message was simple. To the Galactic Empire. "For 4,000 years, you have maintained peace through control and oppression. You have stolen the minds of countless beings, imprisoned those who resist, and planned to do the same to us. Therefore, the people of Earth formally declare war against the Galactic Empire. We choose freedom over false peace. We choose conflict over empty harmony. We choose to be human. This is not a request for negotiation. This is not a plea for mercy. This is a declaration of war." The ambassador laughed softly. "How primitive. They still think in terms of war. I'll explain to them that war is no longer necessary in our peaceful galaxy." But as he prepared his response, alarms began blaring throughout the embassy. Empire sensors were detecting massive energy readings from Earth's fleet. The peaceful facade was falling away, revealing weapons that had been hidden in plain sight for years. In the council chamber, Walker received the first reports. "The Empire ambassador is treating this as a joke. Their fleet hasn't changed course or raised any defenses." The council president nodded grimly. "Then they'll learn the hard way that humanity's declaration of war is no joke." "All ships, all stations," Walker commanded. "Execute Operation Breaking Point. Humanity fights back today." The Empire's 4,000 years of peace were about to end. Not with a whimper, but with humanity's roar of defiance. Admiral Walker stood on his flagship's bridge as the final countdown began. Around Earth, 500 ships waited in perfect formation, their peaceful disguises now stripped away, revealing the weapons hidden beneath. "All ships report ready," his tactical officer announced. "Empire fleet is still 12 hours from Earth. They haven't raised their shields." Walker looked at the tactical display. The Empire had forgotten what war looked like. Their ships were bright and beautiful, but had no real defenses. They still thought humanity was joking about war. "Begin Operation First Strike," Walker ordered. "All ships, execute Jump Plan Alpha." Across Earth's fleet, new engines powered up. Another secret humanity had kept. The Empire thought faster than light travel needed huge engines and long warm-up times. They were wrong. In a flash of light, Earth's ships vanished. They reappeared near hundreds of Empire surveillance stations across the galaxy. These stations had watched over peaceful worlds for thousands of years. They had never seen combat. All ships, weapons free, Walker commanded. Show them what war looks like. The stations never had a chance. Earth's ships struck hard and fast, using weapons the Empire had forgotten could exist. Within 5 minutes, the Empire's eyes across the galaxy were blind. On the Empire's capital world, alarms began to sound for the first time in 4,000 years. Many didn't even recognize the sound. "What's happening?" the Empire's High Commander asked, his peaceful face showing confusion. "Why have we lost contact with our stations?" "The humans," someone answered. They attacked us. Actually attacked us." The High Commander stared in disbelief. "Impossible. No one has attacked anyone in 4,000 years. They must be malfunctions." Then Earth's main fleet appeared above the capital. Not in the designated arrival zones, but right above the military command centers. The Empire's sensors hadn't even detected their approach. Walker's voice boomed across all Empire channels. "This is Admiral James Walker of Earth. Your time of forced peace is over. Surrender your control systems, or we will destroy them." In their confusion, the Empire made a crucial mistake. They tried to activate their chemical weapons, the same ones they had planned to use on Earth. "Chemical weapons detected," Walker's tactical officer reported. "They're trying to use their control drugs on our ships." Walker smiled. "Show them why that was a mistake." Earth's ships had been designed to turn such attacks back on the attackers. The Empire's chemical weapons were caught in magnetic fields and fired back at their own ships. On Empire ships across the capital, crews suddenly found their minds clearing as Dr. Miller's treatment was mixed into their own weapons. For the first time in generations, they began to think freely. "Sir," Walker's communication officer called out, "we're getting surrenders from Empire ships. Their crews, they're waking up." The battle wasn't completely one-sided. Some Empire ships, commanded by those still fully under control, tried to fight back. But they had forgotten how. Their weapons were weak, their tactics non-existent. They fired in straight lines, never thinking to maneuver or coordinate. Earth's ships danced around them, using combat moves practiced in secret for 3 years. The few Empire shots that hit bounced off shields they didn't know could exist. Within an hour, the capital's defenses had fallen. Walker's ship landed near the Empire's central control facility, the heart of their 4,000-year-old system of chemical control and surveillance. "Ground teams report all targets secured," his tactical officer reported. "Empire leaders are in custody. Their control system is ours." Walker nodded, looking out at the capital city. Already, as the control chemicals faded, he could see confusion and awareness spreading across the faces of Empire citizens. "Send word to Earth," he ordered. "First strike successful. And send the signal to our allies on other worlds. It's time for everyone to wake up." The Empire's perfect peace had been shattered. Now came the hard part, teaching a galaxy that had forgotten how to think freely, how to live with freedom again. But first, humanity had to finish winning this war. And there were still Empire forces out there, forces that wouldn't give up their control easily. 3 days after Earth's first strike, Commander Reed stood on the observation deck of an Empire space station, watching as ships from a dozen different species gathered. The station's original crew had surrendered after their control chemicals wore off, and now it served as a base for the growing rebellion. "Another fleet joining us," his aide reported. "The Crystal people of the Andromeda Arm. They've taken control of 3 Empire sectors already." Reed watched the Crystal people's ships approach. Beautiful vessels that sparkled like diamonds in space. Once they had been peaceful traders. Now, with their minds free of Empire control, they remembered their ancient warrior heritage. On his display screen, Dr. Miller's face appeared. She looked tired but excited. "Commander, you need to see this." Patching through new data from the freed worlds. The screen filled with images from across the galaxy. On countless planets, people were waking up. Empire control centers fell as local populations, freed from the chemicals, rose up against their controllers. The Empire's biggest weakness, Miller explained, was that they kept perfect records. We found lists of everyone they'd imprisoned for disturbing the peace. The resistance is freeing them all. A new alert flashed. One of humanity's ships had found another prison planet, but this one was different. Sir, the ship's captain reported, these prisoners, they're the original Imperial Senate, the real government from before the Peace Council took control. Reed straightened. What? The Peace Council, the captain continued. They weren't the original Empire leadership. They were a group that took power 4,000 years ago. They imprisoned the real leaders and slowly turned the Empire into their control experiment. On thousands of worlds, as the truth spread, the revolution grew stronger. Species that had been peaceful for millennia remembered who they used to be. Artists created again. Scientists invented again. Warriors fought again. Admiral Walker's voice came through the station speakers. All Allied fleets, be advised. Empire loyalist forces gathering in the Centauri sector. They still control about 20% of their military. They're not giving up easily, Reed said to his staff. The ones still under chemical control can't give up. They can't even understand why anyone would want freedom. The station shook as another fleet jumped in nearby. These ships were massive, belonging to the mountain people of Rigel. Their leader's face appeared on the main screen. Commander Reed, the mountain leader said, his deep voice clear and strong. Earth showed us the way to freedom. Now we return to help fight for it. More fleets arrived every hour. Species that had been enemies before the Empire's false peace now fought side by side. They shared Dr. Miller's treatment, freed their imprisoned leaders, and joined the growing alliance of free worlds. Reed's communicator beeped with an urgent message from Earth's Council. Empire loyalists attacking freed worlds, using concentrated control chemicals, requesting immediate assistance. All ships, Reed commanded, form up on my position. The Empire thought they created perfect peace by taking away our ability to fight. Now they learn why that was a mistake. The combined fleet jumped toward the battle. Through his viewport, Reed saw something amazing. Ships from 100 different species, all flying together. Not in the rigid, controlled patterns of Empire peace, but in free formation, each bringing their own strength to the fight. Sir, his tactical officer called out, Empire loyalist fleet ahead. They're demanding we surrender and return to peace. Reed looked at the tactical display. The Empire loyalists flew in perfect, predictable patterns, slaves to their programming even in battle. Send our response, Reed ordered. Tell them that humanity and its allies choose freedom. True peace comes from choice, not control, and we choose to fight. The Alliance fleet moved forward, ready for battle. The revolution that humanity started had become a galaxy-wide awakening. The Empire's perfect peace was being replaced by something much more valuable. Freedom, with all its beautiful chaos. Now they just had to win one more battle to secure it. The final battle for the galaxy's freedom began above the Empire's homeworld. Admiral Walker's flagship led the combined fleet of 100 species. Below them, the gleaming capital city no longer looked peaceful. It looked empty, lifeless, like a beautiful cage. Empire loyalist forces approaching. His tactical officer reported. 500 ships. They've activated their chemical weapons. All ships, raise anti-chemical shields, Walker ordered. Remember your training. They'll fly in straight patterns. Use their predictability against them. Dr. Miller stood on the bridge beside him, watching the enemy fleet approach. Admiral, I'm detecting something strange from the planet's surface. The readings, they're like nothing we've seen before. Before Walker could respond, every screen on the bridge lit up. A face appeared, ancient, tired, but with clear, bright eyes. The true Emperor, recently freed from the prison world. People of the galaxy, the Emperor's voice rang out. I speak to you for the first time in 4,000 years. The Peace Council keeps their greatest secret beneath the capital city. You must stop them before they activate it. Suddenly, the ground beneath the Capitol split open. A massive structure rose from underground, a giant chemical dispersal tower, larger than any they'd seen before. "By the stars," Miller whispered, checking her readings. "That device. It could blanket the entire galaxy in control chemicals, strong enough to work permanently." The Loyalist fleet moved to protect the tower. The Peace Council's final message broadcast across all channels: "Return to peace, or we will end all conflict forever. Your minds will be ours for all time." Walker looked at his tactical display. The Alliance fleet was strong, but breaking through to that tower would cost many lives. "Admiral," Commander Reed's voice came through. "The freed Imperial scientists found something in the old records. That tower. It goes both ways. If we can overload it with Dr. Miller's treatment." Walker understood immediately. It would free everyone at once. The battle began. Empire Loyalist ships flew in their perfect formations, while Alliance ships danced around them, using tactics the Empire had forgotten could exist. But the Loyalists had numbers, and many Alliance ships fell. Dr. Miller worked frantically at her station. "I'm modifying our treatment to work with the tower's systems, but we'll need to get it directly into the control center." Walker watched as more ships were hit. The price of freedom was being paid in lives, but these were lives freely given, not taken by control. "All ships," he commanded, "focus fire on their center line. We need a path to that tower." The Alliance fleet moved as one. Ships from 100 worlds, each fighting in their own way, created chaos in the Empire's perfect formations. A gap opened. "Commander Reed," Walker called, "take your strike team in. End this." Reed's small ship shot through the battlefield, diving toward the tower. Empire defenses fired, but couldn't hit his erratic flight path. His team had trained for chaos. The Empire had only trained for order. They landed. The tower's control room was just ahead. Inside the tower, the Peace Council waited. Their blank faces showed no fear, no anger. They were perfect examples of their controlled peace. "You destroy everything we built," they said as Reed's team entered. 4,000 years of perfect peace. "No," Reed replied, inserting Miller's treatment into the tower's systems. "We're bringing back everything you stole." The tower hummed. Energy shot up its length, but instead of control chemicals, it sprayed Miller's treatment across the planet, into space, through the Empire's own chemical distribution network. Across the battlefield, Loyalist ships stopped firing. Across the planet, people looked up with clear eyes. Across the galaxy, minds became free. The war ended not with a final shot, but with a wave of awakening. 1 month later, Walker stood in the new Alliance Council chamber. Representatives from every species sat together, not in perfect harmony, but in real discussion, with real disagreements and real solutions. The true Emperor spoke. "We chose the harder path. Freedom instead of controlled peace. Now we must learn to live with both our differences and our similarities." Humanity had done more than end the Empire's peace. They had shown the galaxy that true peace comes from freedom, even with all its chaos, all its conflicts, and all its challenges. The price of freedom had been paid. Now came the reward: a galaxy alive with thought, creativity, and real peace. Peace by choice, not by control.